Welcome to The Explainer. We're going to talk about something really fascinating today. It's this old, brilliant idea for a kind of money machine, one that was designed to perfectly manage itself, creating just the right amount of money exactly when it was needed. But that machine is broken, and we're going to figure out exactly why.
So let's just start with this. What if money could manage itself? Really think about that. Imagine a world where the money supply just automatically expands when the economy needs it and shrinks when there's too much, all without causing crazy inflation or economic crashes. It sounds kind of like science fiction, right? But for a long time, this was a very serious idea.
To get our heads around that idea, we first have to understand the basic goal of any money system, which is this quest for stable money. And the whole thing really comes down to one key concept: monetary equilibrium.
Right, so this is what it's all about. This is what makes money actually work. For an economy to run smoothly, the value of its money has to be predictable. It has to be stable. If prices are just swinging all over the place, it's total chaos. So the dream, the absolute goal, is for the supply of money to perfectly match how much money people want to hold. That's when you get stability.
Okay, so how in the world could you build a system that does this automatically? Well, there was this really clever historical solution called the Real Bills Doctrine. Let's dive into it.
So, this is basically the blueprint for our automatic money machine. And the idea is actually pretty simple, but it's super elegant. New money can come into existence, but, and this is the key part, only when it's directly backed by real stuff that people are ready to buy right now. Think of it like a claim ticket for a product that's already sitting on the shelf, ready to go. It tethers the money supply directly to the real economy. Okay, so creating money when it's needed, that's half the battle. But what about the other half? What happens when the system maybe overshoots a little and people end up holding more of these money substitutes than they actually want or need?
This quote from an economist named John Fullerton introduces a really beautiful idea called the principle of reflux. Basically, what he's saying is that any extra unwanted money will just naturally flow back to where it came from. It's like water finding its own level. It won't just hang around causing trouble.
And this is where you can see the magic of that reflux principle. So let's just walk through it. Say you've got more of these money claim tickets than you need. What do? Well, you just take the extra ones back to the person who issued them and you trade them in for the actual goods. And just like that, poof, those claim tickets are now out of circulation. The money supply automatically shrinks to match demand, and it does it all without messing with the value of money. It's a perfect, self-correcting loop.
So, this all sounds pretty perfect, right? But what happens when you start putting the wrong kind of fuel into this beautiful machine? You see, the whole theory depends on what is backing the money. And this is where things can start to go very, very wrong.
And here is the absolute crucial difference. The system works like a charm when money is backed by things that are ready to sell, stuff that's liquid. But it completely falls apart when you start issuing money against, say, long-term projects, like a pile of raw materials that won't be a finished product for years. Those assets are illiquid. You can't just sell them easily.
And here's the huge mismatch that creates. You've got workers who get paid for their labor, and now they're holding these money substitutes. They want to go out and buy groceries, clothes, normal stuff. But the money they're holding is backed by something that isn't even a consumer good yet. There's nothing for them to immediately buy with it. So that reflux mechanism, it still kicks in. But this time, it is ugly. People realize their claim tickets are for stuff that's not ready, so they all rush to the issuer at once and demand real money, something like gold. But the issuer can't pay. Their money is all tied up in that long-term project, so they're forced to have a fire sale, selling off assets for pennies on the dollar, and it leads to bankruptcy. The money supply does shrink, sure, but it happens through a really painful economic crisis. So that first problem, that was a serious glitch in the system. But now we're going to look at the thing that didn't just glitch the machine, it completely shattered the self-correcting part. And that's the switch to what's called inconvertible money. And this brings us right up to today, to the money we all use, fiat money. The key word here is inconvertible. It means you can't take a dollar bill to the government and demand something physical, like gold, in return. Its value comes purely from our collective trust and the fact that the government says it's money. And this is the absolute game changer. That beautiful reflex loop, it's gone. It's completely broken. If there's too much money in the system, there's no way to return it to the issuer and just take it out of circulation. The pipe is blocked. There is no off-ramp for that extra money anymore. So, if all that excess money can't flow back and just disappear, where does it go? What does it do? Well, this question brings us right into the reality of our modern economy.
Well, one place it goes is it starts chasing after real goods and services. Since the amount of money can't shrink, people try to get rid of their extra cash by just buying stuff. But when you have way too much money chasing the same amount of goods, you know what happens. It just bids up prices. That's price inflation. Any other path for all that excess money? It floods into financial markets. People use it to buy stocks, bonds, real estate, anything to get rid of the cash. This pushes the price of those assets way, way up, often completely disconnected from their real value. And it pushes interest rates down. And that is how you get asset bubbles. So here's the big takeaway. The system still finds a way to balance itself, but it's a much more painful process now. Instead of the supply of money shrinking to meet demand, the system forces the demand for money to rise. And how does it do that? By making everything more expensive. When prices for everything go up, well, you suddenly need more money just to live your life. The balance gets restored, but the cost is inflation and instability. Which leaves us with this final, really challenging question. That old money machine, it had a built-in off-ramp, a safe way for extra money to just leave the system. Our modern fiat money system doesn't have that, and it forces us to wonder, if the machine can no longer fix itself, who's in charge of controlling it, and how can they possibly do it without sending us into these wild cycles of inflation and crisis? That is the central challenge of modern economics.